எனதருமை யூடியூப் வியூவர்ஸ்க்கு வணக்கம். இது Tntet யூடியூப் சேனல். Tntet யூடியூப் சேனல்ல போன வீடியோல தமிழ் சிலபஸ் போட்டிருந்தேன். இந்த வீடியோல இங்கிலீஷ் சிலபஸ் போட போறேன். சோ இங்கிலீஷ்ல என்னென்ன சிலபஸ் இருக்கு அப்படின்ட்டு பார்த்தலாம். பேப்பர் 2ல பாத்தீங்கன்னா இங்கிலீஷ்ல 6 to 8 வரைக்கும் உள்ள லெசன்ல இருந்து வரும். சோ என்னன்னு பார்த்தலாம். ஃபர்ஸ்ட் கிளாஸ் 6th competencies, classroom activities and process, learning outcomes, evaluation, listening to instructions, imperative statements, short stories, short audio pieces, radio play, chosen parts of CD, poetry, short passages, reading aloud stories, reciting poems, giving specific instructions for an activity or class work, playing an audio story, audio books, audio rendition of poems which will be reiterated at a suitable time in future, comprehends oral instructions, learns to pronounce words and phrases, makes meaning of what she listens to and responds appropriately, orally or through written exercises, follow instructions, listen and recite or read with a clear intonation and pronunciation, listen and respond orally or through written exercises. Example, write or say a line about the characters in a story, give a suitable title, answer objective questions. Next, identifying and discriminating difficult words, dictation, hearing words and spelling accurately, GH sound, silent letters. For example, S, Z, 3, homophones, etc. Learns that spelling and pronunciation are different, learns to spell well as many words as thought appropriate, connect sounds and form a word picture, learns new vocabulary, spelling games, spell words, finds patterns, use correct spelling in writing, understands meaning of words learned. Speaking, reading aloud from a text, reading aloud from their reader, reads clearly with the pauses, pronounce words accurately, read the given passage fluently without erase and with the correct pauses. Reciting, reading from a text, reciting from a memory, learned and reciting in a groups or individually from the selection of specified poems. Read in unison with a sense of meter and rhyme, reads alone without stumbling with expression. Express appreciation for the poem read, recite with expression without faltering. Memorize the poem. Using appropriate greetings for various occasions, making requests, enacting, instructing another classmate. Activity, role play, games, other oral activities, ask, answer activities around a familiar situation in day-to-day life, giving direction to a place on campus, etc. Learn to use oral instructions, speaks and enacts using learned phrases, builds familiarity with the appropriate phrasing of greetings and requests. Follow the instructions correctly. How will you respond to the given situations? Asking and answering, WH, yes, no, seeking information questions. This learning activity may be undertaken around a story or passage teacher guided. Learn to frame appropriate question and answers correctly in the WH, yes, no model. Also knows how to ask to elicit relevant information. Objective questions, questions for different situation. For example, ask question to find a place, find the time of a train's arrival or dispatcher. Participation in discussion in class, in a dialogue, large group discussions, classroom discussion on a lessons, converses around a suggested or initiated topic. Builds a participation skills, cognition in speech, confidence, resourcefulness, holds a train of thought. Converse on a topic of your chosen with a group of your classmates. Speaking formally on a topic for 2 minutes. Each student takes a turns to prepare and speak on a topic of choice. Learns to speak in front of a group clearly and correctly. Addresses the class on why we need to grow more trees. Telling jokes, puzzles and riddles. Students share jokes, puzzles and riddles. Students share jokes, puzzles and riddles in a lively manner. Build interactive skills. Anyone can share a jokes, puzzle or riddle which they enjoyed. Reading, skimming. Using various short passages, the teacher facilitates skimming content as a reading skill. The student learns skimming as a skill and understand its value in reading and understanding. Read the given passage and answer the questions. Scanning. Using various short passages, the teacher facilitates scanning content as a reading skill. The student learns scanning as a skill and understand its value in reading and understanding. Read the given information and find the data asked. Reading independently short passages in prose and comprehending its content, reading and following level appropriate instructions. Reading passages from text, reading selected unseen comprehension passages of selected level. Teacher writes on instructions on board and asks children to follow them. A playway learning activity, Simon says games. Reads and comprehends, understands and enjoys stories and essays, learns to read independently, follow instruction clearly, using sequence, understanding content, finding answers to questions on given the passage, understanding the author's intentions, recognizing and learning vocabulary in context, appreciating style, first step, picking out main facts and supporting detail, relating stories to one's own life and responding. The teacher facilitates the following activities and skills: underline main facts, use dictionary or vocabulary list, put up on board to find meaning and understand in the context, use reading material to answer questions, enjoy reading, answer open-ended questions. What do you think? Understands vocabulary, builds vocabulary and uses words in context, answers questions correctly, begins to build cognitive skills in reading and understanding, takes the first steps in looking at the literary qualities and merits of a piece of writing, uses the dictionary effectively, independently works at a understanding a passage or poem, follows sequence correctly, answer questions appropriately, VSA, reads poetry, appropriates it, understands, relates and responds. Teacher facilitates, reads and responds to poetry and question, illustrate, appropriates poetry, understands meaningfully, free association, imagine activity. Illustrations and responses show understanding, answer question accurately. Reading extension activities, supplementary reading, use of the library, referencing skills and activities, reads for interest, reads to deepen knowledge, reads to link and connect additional data, small assignments and projects. Writing, answer questions in complete sentences using punctuations, comprehension passages, write in sentence, writes complete answers, uses punctuations, answers question appropriately in complete sentences, uses relevant and level appropriate vocabulary to make sentences, exercise in vocabulary, uses vocabulary to make sentences, use vocabulary correctly, write original sentences, writes on a given topic to established word limit 5 lines, specific paragraph topics, teaching writing a paragraph unit, relevance, appropriate vocabulary and grammar conventions, write cogently, write cogently, organize content relevant to topic, spell and use grammar correctly, short answers 5 lines, identifying and using selected cognitive devices, analyzing sentences and passages for cognitive devices facilitated by the teacher, may be a text passage. Students learn to write sentences and small passages using cognitive devices, filling the blanks with the correct connectors and other devices in writing. Objective questions, writing letters in a given format, learns about the format of a leave letter through relevant examples provided by the teacher, learns to write a formal letter in the appropriate format, write a letter to a bookshop ordering books for your home library. Journal writing, short journal prompts, self-expressions not assessed. Free writing, 5 minutes of the class time to write, just write without hesitation, not assessed. A freeing exercise. Forming stories, story writing tasks from outline or story starters. Write cogently, use imitations, apply grammar conventions. Write a original story of your own on any theme of your choice. Write clearly and imaginatively. Developing hints, hints are given and students facilitated to use them skillfully. Expanding on given hints, building a story from outline, learning skills that help to use imagination, facts productively. Write cogently, use all the hints, imaginative, innovative, original. Writing simple messages and descriptions. Students use life situation to write relevant messages. Students use everyday objects and scenarios to describe what they see. Learns to use languages to articulate a visual image. Look at the objects placed before you and describe them in the few sentences. Mind, concept mapping, summarize concept in any framework using graphic organizers. Use summary and graphic organizer in all classroom transactions. Picking out and organization of information and facts in an imaginative manner. Learning the value of mind mapping as a tool to understand and associate. Growing familiar with a range of graphic organizers. Frame sentences in sequence from the mind map given to you. Spelling words correctly. Spelling activities around familiar and unfamiliar words. Dictations. Students know the spelling of selected words. Objective questions and fun games for spelling. Grammar. Have have an overview of parts of speech. Words have different roles in sentences. Functional use of words in full expressions. Introduction to parts of a speech through explanation and exercises. Understands the different words and what parts of the speech they are. Classify the given words in the respective column: noun, adjective, verb and adverb, adjective, questions. Concept of a sentence: subject, predicates, types of sentences, capital letters and punctuation, difference between sentences and fragments, correcting run-ons, assertive, interrogative, imperative, simple, negative. Through varying exercise on each concept with the explanation of logic behind each. Learns the structure of sentences, recognize differences between sentences and fragments, understands and correct run of errors, learns 4 simple sentence types, separate sentences into subject and predicate, use appropriate capital and end mark, write sentences with appropriate structures, objective, questions. Nouns and types of nouns, all proper and abstract nouns. Through exercise and explanation of nouns, their roles and use rules. Recognizes all types of proper and abstract nouns. Identify the nouns in the following sentences and state what kind of nouns has been used. Objective, questions. Verbs, being and doing words adds to understanding. Predicates, simple present, habitual action, universal truth, simple past, completed actions, simple future, intended actions, SVC, SVO, SVIO, DO. Learns all doing and being verbs in the required context through sheets, explanations and activities. Recognize verbs and their role as predicates. Students use different tense forms in the different situations. Students understand simple sentence structures, SVC, SVO and SVOO. Pick out verbs, simple predicates, use verbs in sentences correctly. Objectives, questions. Learning the different kinds of describing words and modifying words in a sentence, adjectives and adverbs. Learns through exercises and explanation of describing words, their role and use. Learns about modifying words and their required context through sheets, explanation and activities. Recognize adjectives and adverbs and their role in a sentence. Students use different adjectives and adverbs in different situations. Use and understands different describing and modifying words and the rules of usage. Objective, questions. Rules of capital use. Basic rules. Beginning of sentences. Types of proper nouns. Pronoun 1. Worksheets. Explanation. Learning the rules of capitalizing. Learn all the uses of capital letters in sentences. Apply rules all written work. Objective, questions. End marks connected to types of sentences. Worksheets and rules. Recognize the types of sentences and uses end marks correctly. Uses and marks correctly. Objective, questions. Revise already learned concepts through exercise. Revision exercises. Vocabulary. Grasping the meaning of unfamiliar words from reading materials. Uses dictionary. Checks with peers. Teacher helps with meaning. Understands meaning of words in context. Uses the words in sentences. Understands context and meaning. Objective, questions. Vocabulary exercise in homonyms, synonyms, antonyms. Activities, crosswords, word search. Students learn some homonyms, synonyms and antonyms. Builds familiarity. Identifies words correctly. Completes the related exercise correctly. Language functions. Reading and interpreting pictorial information, cosmic strip, pictures, etc. Activities, task and languages game. Enrichment and application. Students develop the skill of describing pictures and cartoons. Uses pictures and other visual media to complete the set task. Reads a graphic organizer table of data, worksheets or charts or blackboard drawings. Understand and interprets different kinds of data. Interprets the data accurately. Narrating story, activity, task and language games. Enrichment and application. Original, imaginative, clear sentences. Role play. Activities, task and language games. Enrichment and applications. Simulates effectively. Writing poetry, activities, task and language games. Enrichment and application. Write originally, authentically. Next we are seeing about 7th standard syllabus. Listening, competencies, content, classroom activities and processes, learning outcomes, evaluation. Listening and responding to items, recorded songs, poems, stories, dialogues, etc. Listening to and following instructions, listening to selected audio stories, listening to a classmate's speech. Student understands oral instructions, understands stories, read out or played, follows a speech or responds to it. Testing to find out whether the students follow instruction correctly and respond respond appropriately. Oral questions check comprehensions. Listening to specific words and their different forms in different contexts. Same words that differ in meaning in different contexts. For example, cry, weep, cry, shout, allow. Using specific words form in appropriate contexts. Worksheets and other interactive exercise dictation on these forms. Distinguishes different word forms. Learn the peculiarities of spelling. Learn to spell words correctly. Find pattern, gain pattern, occurly in spelling. Connect sounds with the words, word pun, objective type questions. Listening to a report on 1. Annual day function, 2. Sports day function, etc. 3. News report, 4. Weather report, etc. Teacher initiates a discussion on the report. Student understands the structure of a report, able to recall basic elements of an oral report and improvise to create one in a given context using given basic parameters. Speaking, telling jokes, puzzles, tongue twisters as play and words and meaning. Jokes, puzzles and tongue twisters. Students share jokes, puzzles and riddles. Share jokes, puzzles and riddles in a lively manner. Build interactive skills. Use words like puns, homonyms, etc. in group conversation. Narrating an experience. Incidents in the class, playgrounds, etc. Students share their experience in class. Uses descriptive vocabulary and connectors. Recount your experiences on your way to school this morning. Reciting poems from memory and from text. Poems from the text. Learning and reciting in groups or individually from the selection of specified poems. Appreciate, recognize rhymes, meter and meanings and brings it out through recitation. Recite clearly with correct inflection and pronunciation. Speaking formally. Familiar topics. The teacher facilitates formal conversation around a chosen topic. Example, groups converse around sports today or TV programs. Expresses thoughts using the correct languages, vocabulary and syntax. Speak with confidence on a topic of their choice. Reading. Identifying the topic sentence of a paragraph. Simple passages on a games, articles on science, nature, moral values, adventure, biographics, jokes, etc. Read text, locate meanings if necessary. Underline main points. Independent reading and comprehension of reading matter. Summarize effectively through mind maps and other graphic organizers. Answer the question accurately. Reading independently, picking out main facts and supporting details. Passages on topics of general interest. Teacher guides the students to finding the topic sentence of a paragraph by eliciting responses through questions. Identifies the topic sentence of a paragraph. Find the topic sentence of a given paragraph. Analyzing what is read. Simple comprehension passages, depicting celebrations, etc. Apply their mind to understand various aspects of a passage. For example, character, style, plot, inference, other interesting information. Makes connections and interpret why, what they read, what, how, why questions. Understanding and following written instructions after or before a given passage. Pre-reading and post-reading questions on simple passages. Reading written instructions and following them. Follows written instructions. Read the instructions and respond accordingly. Following a trail of written instructions to arrive at a learning outcome. Rearranging jumbled sentence into a logical sequence. Exercises given after the lesson, aiding understanding, analysis, evolve connections. Follows a sequence and build on what is known. MCQs, objective types questions, VSA and essay. Relating stories to one's own life and responding. Stories inculcating values like friendship, good contact, etc. Answer open-ended questions. What do you think? Response to literature. Understand life through reading. Reads with pause, stressing words appropriately and with proper intonation. Example, if you were the boy in this story, how would you have? Reading poetry, appreciating it, understanding, relating and responding. Poems on simple themes. Teacher facilitates, reads, read and respond to poetry. Answer questions, illustrate. Appreciates poetry, responds to the imaginary and emotions in a poem. Reads with pause, stressing words appropriately and with proper intonation. Answer questions, eliciting imagination and emotions. Reading with rhythm and emotion, extensive reading. Newspapers, children's magazines, etc. Supplementary reading, use of the library, referencing skills and activities. Reads for interest, reads to deepen knowledge, reads to link and connect additional data. Building interest, small assignments and projects. Writing answers to knowledge based questions. Mind maps and graphic organizers. Comprehension passages with activities or text based written exercises. Explains clearly in writing, use appropriate expressions, answer in own words. Answer accurately in an organized, complete and clear manner. Normative MCQs, objective type questions, VSA and SA. Differentiates between the language used in prose and poetry. Poems. Read, comprehend and respond clearly, identifies sentence patterns. Interprets and understand the poems. Questions, VSA and SA. Paraphrasing poetic lines. Poems. Read, comprehend and respond clearly, use mind maps and graphic organizers to aid understanding. Interprets and understands the poems, expresses views with originality and writes in prose form. Rewrite the given lines of the poem in prose form. Writing descriptive and narrative essays of specified length 8 to 10 lines. Topics of general interest. Introduction to essay writing. Writing on given topic with guidelines provided. Writes up to 10 cognate lines on a given topic. Write grammatically correct sentence in organized manner on a given topic. Long answers 8 to 10 lines. Using discourse markers. Linkers, connectives. Passages with the selected discourse markers are provided to students. Teacher facilitates familiarity with them through pre- and post-reading questions. Identifies the specified discourse markers in connected sentences. Identify the discourse markers, linkers, connectives in a given passage. Use discourse markers in appropriate places in sentences. Writing formal and informal letters. Situation for formal and informal letters. Formats are given. Teacher shows the style of language used in formal, informal letters. Learns and applies the formats and uses the required vocabulary and languages for letter writing. Example 1. Writes a letter to our friend about the pollution of the river in your area. Write a letter to the collector about the pollution of the river in your area. Using direct speech in dialects. Situation for dialects. Using a short narrative passage, students are encouraged to convert it to direct speech through talking roles, evolving a script, etc. Responds appropriately and builds a clear written dialogue sequence for a story narrative. Fun activities in script writing, filling up the blanks in the dialogue using the right format for presentation of direct speech. Simple slogan writing, short, catchy phrases and sentences. Teachers involve various contests to create awareness, for example waste, segregation, conservation of water, keeping the campus clean, etc. Evolves catchy and effective slogans on relevant themes. A few fun activities on imaginary issues, summative, able to focus on core issues and evolve an appropriate slogan. Journal writing, current affairs, general topics, short journal prompts, self-expression, prepare article for journals. Free writing, current affairs, general topics. 5 minutes of class time to write on topic of the people's choice. Writing spontaneously without hesitation. Express your views on the chosen topic. Grammar, revision of parts of speech, nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, pronouns, preparations, conjunctions, interjections, articles. A passage in the text that highlights the required grammatical functions. Reinforcement of knowledge of parts of speech through usage related interactive activities. Recall and reinforcement of learned concepts in the parts of speech sentence structure. Demonstrate clarity of understanding. Close test may be used. Grasping the form, structure and use of the continuous tenses. Past, present, future, continuous. Learn about the continuous tenses and their required context through sheets, explanation and activities. Students use different continuous tense forms in different situations appropriately. Students have a clear, meaningful and focused understanding of the usage of the continuous tense. For example, imagine a match is going on and give you a commentary using the present continuous tense. Narrate a past event using the past continuous tense objective type question. Using modal verbs for suggestion, obligation, politeness, willingness. Would, may, can, will. A passage in the text that highlights the required grammatical functions. Learn through exercises, activities and explanation of modal verbs, their role and use in the specialized context. Students use different modal forms in different situations appropriately. Objective type question. The test use of modals for suggestion, obligation, politeness, willingness, ability. Being and doing verbs, differentiating transitive and intransitive verbs, sentence pattern. Be and do as main and auxiliary verbs, verbs that take objects and those that do not. SVO, SVC, SVOO, etc. Learn about verbs that take objects and those that take complements and their required context through sheets, explanations and activities. Students deepen their understanding of simple sentence structures. SVC, SVO and SVOO has a clear, meaningful and focused understanding of the usage of selected transitive and intransitive verbs in the specified sentence structures. Objective type questions. Grasping the use and meaning of noun groups and selected phrasal verbs. Dividing the sentence into noun and verb groups. Example, subject and predicate. Phrasal verbs using bring, come, take. A passage in the text that highlights the required grammatical functions. Learn through exercises, activities and explanation of noun groups and phrasal verbs, their role and use. Students understand the use of noun groups with head words and modifiers and some common phrasal verbs through usage. Objective type questions. Identifying the 3 degrees of comparison, positive, comparative and superlative degrees, the 3 forms of the irregular verbs, various exercises and situations to highlight the 3 degrees of comparison. Students learn to write simple sentences involving the 3 degree of comparison. Given the base form of or one of the 3 forms of the adjectives and the students supply the other 2 forms of the adjective sentences and the adjective in brackets are given and students supplying the right form of the adjective suiting the context in the blanks provided. Revision of punctuation marks, full stop, comma, inverted commas, question and exclamatory marks. Passages with the relevant punctuation marks are provided to students. Teacher facilitate revision. Students are the punctuation mark appropriately. Punctuate the given passage, supply the missing punctuation marks. Framing question tags. Didn't, hasn't, isn't, did, has, is. Through varying exercise and classroom activities on each concept with explanation of the logic behind each. For example, he took the book, didn't he? He didn't take the book, did he? Applies the rules influencing question tags in a meaningful manner clear in this concept in their writing. Recognize errors and correct them. Objective type questions. Subject and verb agreement. Singular subject, singular verb, plural subject, verb in the plural, each, every, either, neither, etc. Through exercises and substitution tables, verbal situation, etc. Knows and applies the rules of singular and plural nouns and verbs, uses them. Objective type questions. Identifying the active and passive voices. Transforming sentences from the active to passive and vice versa. Sentences of the simple present, past and future through exercises and substitution tables, verbal situation, etc. Knows and applies the rules of transformation in speaking and writing clear in the concept of identifying the 2 types of voices. Objective type question. Identifying phrases and clauses. Phrase is a group of words without a finite verb in it. Class is a group of words with a finite verb in it. Passages in the text, additional exercises and verbal situations. Understands the use of phrases and classes. Differentiate phrases and classes. Objective type question. Vocabulary. Locating words in the dictionary for their meaning. Synonyms, antonyms and usage. Guided use of dictionary for unfamiliar words. Activities 1. Exercise and word games. Break up of kangaroo words. Use of dictionary and thesauruses. Learns more words and synonyms and antonyms of words. Find synonyms and antonyms. Split the words into smaller words. Objective type question. Prefixes and suffixes. Word formation with prefixes and suffixes. Exercises through pattern finding. Understands how suffixes and prefixes can alter the words and change its meanings. Use suffixes and prefixes and knows the meanings. Objective type question. Compound words, homophones. Noun plus noun, noun plus verb plus adjective plus noun. Activities and exercises. Learns to recognize them. Form compound words. Use the words in different contexts according to their meaning. Language functions. Talk about oneself. Talks on likes, dislikes, friends, etc. Conversation class, teacher anchors and helps children speak authentically. Interaction questions based on favorites, players, hobbies, friends, books, leaders, movies, TV programs, etc. Learns to speak in sentence and communicate their thoughts and feelings with ease and clarity. Speak confidently and attempt to speak in complete sentence. Questionnaire type completion. Participating in language games and puzzles. Words such as crosswords and what's the good word. Activities and games in class at various levels to strengthen and reinforce various competencies. Reinforces concepts learned in grammar and vocabulary, develops the skill of problem solving. Solve puzzles and play word games. Dramatizing a story, situations, plays, etc. Presentation of skits in small groups. Visualize the story, role play, develop the confidence, enact the play. Reading a graphic organizer, table or data, worksheets, charts or blackboard drawings. Understands and interprets different kinds of data. Interpret the data accurately. Next we are seeing about 8th standard syllabus. Competencies, content, classroom activities and processes, learning outcomes, evaluation. Listening to recorded commentary of any sport, sports commentaries, passage on a familiar theme. Listen as a large group with pointers and interventions from the teacher for better understanding. Understands the use of language in commentary. Understand what is happening and are able to recall what they heard. Listen to selected words and their stress and inflections. Words like contact and contact, present and present. Words and passage read out in class focusing on stressed syllables and words. Students pronounce accurately and with proper intonation the words heard. Identify the sounds heard. Listening to poetry, reading and recitation, poems. Listen to how poems could be read or recited. Appreciate rhyme, meter and the special use of words. Identify the nuances of sounds and words in poetry. Speaking, telling jokes, puzzles and riddles. Jokes, puzzles and riddles. Students share jokes, puzzles and riddles in a lively manner and use language appropriately. Build interactive skills. Jokes, puzzles or riddles cited by the learners. Retelling stories they have read. Stories. Students listen to each other as they narrate stories. Rephrases and narrates in originality. Rephrasing. Making telephonic conversations. In small groups, children enact telephonic conversation and apply telephonic etiquette. Speaks over the telephone using appropriate vocabulary, intonation and register of language. Learn to speak and express oneself to others. Participating in discussions, current news, sports, relevant contemporary issues. Large group activity with the teacher facilitating speaking and listening. Expresses thoughts and views with clarity, cognancy and focus. Speaks clear, complete sentences and expresses idea clearly. Group discussion on various topics. Reading. Reading poetry, appreciating, understanding, relating and responding to various themes. Poems. Activities related to the poems in content. Read and answer questions based on the poem. Enjoys reading given poems. Appreciates and respond to chosen poems. Essay questions. A. Reading for a content and style. B. Understanding sequence. C. Scanning content to find answer to questions in the given passage. D. Understanding the author's intention. E. Recognizing or learning vocabulary in context. F. Appreciating style. Stories, passages with moral values, witty and humorous passages, historical, narrative, mystery passages, etc. Read stories and other passages to understand and appreciate the plot, characters, style and intention. Understand and summarize the story in various ways. Creating, organizes and using the ones given. Makes connections with the life and learning. Comprehends selected passages from literature. Enjoy the reading process and learns from it. Pronounce the words correctly. Stress appropriately. Pausing at the right places with proper intonation. Summarize the story. Assesses its plot, character and style. MCQ, objective type question. VSA, SA, LA. Extensive reading. Abridged novels, fictions, books of people's choice. supplementary reading, use of the library, referencing skills and activities. Reads for interest, reads to deepen knowledge, reads to link and connect additional data. Question to build interest, summative, answers addressed questions appropriately with supporting statements. Writing, comprehension using mind mapping techniques, answer questions in complete sentences using proper punctuation. Comprehension, passage given for written work, exercises and activities that elucidate the required concepts are facilitated through mind mapping. Picks out relevant facts, writes correct and clear answer to meet the requirement of the question specified. VSA and essay question, make notes and write the summary in a paragraph. Using both active and passive vocabulary to make sentences, words, phrases, phrasal verbs, etc. Simple exercise and prepared by the teacher. Uses vocabulary appropriately. Learn and use words correctly. Objective type questions. Writing paragraph, topic, sentence, unity and structure, linking small paragraphs, simple topics, proverbs, etc. Example, cleanliness is next to godliness. The importance of good manners. Worksheets to understand and practice writing paragraphs. Learn to use paragraphs and to write on different topics. A. Expand the given outline into a paragraph. B. Write a paragraph on the given topic. Writing on a given topic 150 to 200 words. Simple topics, proverbs, personal experiences, etc. Specific essay topics, teaching how to write an essay. Write at length on a given topic with organization and clarity. Complete essay with the title, introduction, content and conclusion. Revision, writing letters in a given format. Topics for letter writing. Revision of the format of the formal and informal letter and the register of language. Uses the correct format and appropriate content. A. Write a letter to the forest authorities about the cutting of trees in the area. B. Write a letter to your friend expressing your disapproval on cutting down the trees in his compound. Writing a summary, passages for summarizing. Teacher explains the steps involved in writing a summary. Teacher provides a passage. The students make use of the steps and make a summary of the given passage. Writes a summary. Write a summary of the given passage in about 1/3 of its length. Creative writing, exercising one's imagination in a creative manner. Captions for pictures, topics, writing essays on given topics. Teacher facilitates understanding of fantasy through reading a story and having pre and post reading discussion. Writes creatively, evoking powers of the imagination. Writes and illustrate with cogniency and fluency. Free articulation, imagination, expression of ideas. Collecting, recording and collecting information. General topics. Teacher invites students to collect and present information on various topics or happenings around them. My school, my neighbors, the library, hospital, movies, music, dance, performance, etc. Collects, records and collates information on suggested topics. Summative, effectively collect, record and collate information on a suggested topics. Grammar, identifying the three kinds of sentences: simple, complex and compound sentences. Worksheets, peer review and exercises. Learn the rules and use of the classes and phrases and apply them in writing. Learn the differences between classes and phrases. Transformation of simple sentences into compound and compound sentences into simple. Revision of tenses and more about tenses. Simple present, past and future, progressive and perfect forms of tenses. Worksheets, peer review and exercises. Meaningfully learns the rules and the uses of the simple, continuous and perfect tense in perfect, continuous and perfect tense in present, past and future time and applies them in writing. Use the tenses in the appropriate places. Objective type of questions. Using reported speech, statements and imperatives. Worksheets, peer review and exercises. Uses reported speech correctly. Use the correct tense form with proper punctuation in reported speech. Identifying the active and passive voices. Transformation of sentences with the progressive and perfect tenses from one voice into other. Worksheets, peer review and exercises. Understands the difference between the active and passive voices. Uses the active and passive voices appropriately. MCQ, VSA. Identifying the sentence pattern. ASVC, SVCA, SVIODOAAA, etc. classroom situations, verbal situations, etc. Understands the structure of sentences correctly and uses them appropriately. Clear in framing sentences using the various elements, parts of speech. Using the degrees of comparison, transformation of sentences from one degree into other, various examples from day-to-life classroom situations, etc. Uses the three types of comparison appropriately in sentences, become familiar with the structure, recognize errors and rectify them. Objective type questions. Grasping the structure and the use of the question tags. Tags attached to words with negative meaning such as hardly, scarcely, rarely, seldom, etc. Various exercises and classroom activities practicing through dialogues, role play, etc. Knows and applies the rules involved in framing question tags. Objective type questions. Vocabulary, synonyms and antonyms, glossary, other connected words, using dictionary and thesaurus exercises, learn synonyms of words, their use and parts of speech, etc. Use vocabulary appropriately. Spelling rules, ing, plurals with s, es, etc. Homophones, homonyms, tion and sion, etc. Spelling of monosyllabic, disyllabic and polysyllabic words. Spelling of plural nouns, adding plural morphemes, es and ies. Spelling rules, display, word grid, word building, pun, etc. Children learn to spell through spelling patterns. Spell accurately in writing. Identifying the expansion and use of abbreviations and acronyms. Common abbreviations: HM, SSLC, PTO, PTA, HSS, NSS, NCC, PIN, etc. Teacher explores some abbreviations and acronyms with the students. Teacher provides a list of abbreviations, uses abbreviations and acronyms, summative and normative. Expand the abbreviations and acronyms. Language fictions, expressing ideas clearly. Debates, giving topics for debating, listing ideas for and against a topics. Learns to express a viewpoint and supports it. Speaks with clarity and logic. Speaks on the given topic. Describing, narrating events, personal experience, any interesting situation. The teachers encourage all students to participate and express the ideas. Collaborates to create a story with peers. Build a credible story. Reading and interpreting data. Graphic organizes pictures and tabular data. Read graphs, tables and pictures and complete assigned tasks. Interpret data. Interpret and summarize the ideas you infer from the picture or data provided. இது எல்லாமே வந்து பாத்தீங்கன்னா உங்களுக்கு இங்கிலீஷ் சிலபஸ்ல வரும். இதுல உள்ள டாபிக் நீங்க படிச்சாலே டெட் क्वेश्चन பேப்பர்ல உள்ள 30 மார்க் நீங்க கட்டாயமா எடுக்க முடியும். அடுத்த வீடியோல நான் மீண்டும் உங்களை சந்திக்கிறேன். நன்றி.